2025 is shaping up to be a juggernaut year for Marvel Studios, a franchise that has been pumping out movies since 2008. Lately though, the franchise has been on a little bit of a decline in terms of audience reviews and commercial success. Looking forward to May, we've got the Thunderbolts. Looking forward to July, we've got Fantastic Four, which is going head to head with DC Studios' Superman. But until that showdown, we've got February, and February is Captain America: Brave New World. This movie, affectionately called Captain America 4, follows Sam Wilson taking up the Captain America mantle that was gifted to him by Steve Rogers at the end of Avengers Endgame. Quick cut in here, just so you guys know. Pretty heavy spoilers in this one. Don't think that's much of a surprise, but just so we're on the same page, spoilers going forward. Now, if you've seen literally any commercial for Captain America 4, you know that Harrison Ford is playing Thunderbolt Ross, who later turns into Red Hulk at the end of the movie. Now, personally, I would have much rathered that they not give this away in the trailers and leave to a little bit of surprise for the audience. So then you think, well, who's the villain? Giancarlo Esposito, leader of the Serpent Society? Commercials would have you think that too, but that's not the case, as he's defeated pretty early on in the movie and rarely comes back. So the onus of being the villain falls on Tim Blake Nelson's The Leader, who was last seen way back in 2008 in The Incredible Hulk. I really like The Incredible Hulk. The final fight in that movie between Hulk and the Abomination is to this day still one of the best in the MCU. And I'm really glad that Marvel Cinematic Universe is finally acknowledging that movie in a legitimate way. It seems like after the whole Edward Norton thing, they kind of just forgot about that movie on purpose. Marvel, I want you to know, I didn't forget about it. So you've got the Leader, this guy who had his intelligence greatly enhanced by the Hulk's gamma-radiated blood. Cool concept, they kinda went out the window with the comic-accurate look, and maybe that's for the best, but overall I wasn't a huge fan of how he looked in this movie anyway. As a whole, I'm not really stoked about him being the villain in this movie. It just feels sort of weird that a Hulk villain crosses over to a Captain America movie because Marvel can't make another Hulk movie. The same sort of goes for Red Hulk, but Red Hulk was an unintentional villain, let's call it. Thunderbolt Ross didn't really even know that he was infected with gamma radiation. Anthony Mackie is fantastic as Captain America, but we already knew that from his appearances as the Falcon and from the story of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think he puts out a great representation of what it means to be Captain America, especially in the scene with Bucky in the hospital where Bucky says that Steve Rogers gave people something to hope for, where Sam gives them something to aspire to. I think that's a really important distinction that more people need to understand when looking at Anthony Mackie as Captain America. He is not Steve Rogers. That's a fact. They say it in the movie. But he is Captain America, and I think he does a fantastic job at it. But let's get back to the villains. 3 villains for one movie, no matter how minor one of them is, it's a little much. Naturally, if that's the case, one of them is going to get pushed to the wayside, and unfortunately that was Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder. He's sort of on the level of Batroc in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Using these 3 villains and having one of them sort of not be that important, but also having the main villain be behind the scenes for 90% of the movie, makes this feel a little disjointed at times. Sure, the Leader can't physically go toe-to-toe with Captain America, but then again, Captain America can't go toe-to-toe with Red Hulk, and he does it. So I think that having these 3 villains and having them all act in different ways sort of just feels a little janky, and doesn't really allow any of them to have the growth of a full-time character. My biggest problem with the movie, though, again, falls back on the Leader. I understand that if you're super smart, you can figure a lot of things out, but hyper-intelligence does not equal seeing the future. There's a lot of times in the movie where the Leader talks about probability this, probability that. That's great, that's fine, but you can't 100% predict what anyone is going to do. And to their credit, they do touch on that when they say how much Captain America has surprised the Leader in the choices that he makes. But speaking to the end credits scene, there is no possible way that the Leader is physically intelligent enough to foresee a future where the multiverses collide. I guess we'll see more of that in Secret Wars in a few years, but to me right now, it just doesn't sit right. In the same sense, this also allows the movie to make a lot of weak excuses for storytelling. For example, something like, well, it happened because the Leader predicted it, or well, it happened because the Leader saw the probabilities. To me, that's just a cop-out. It's just telling me that you don't really know how else to get from point A to point B. The final things I'll talk about here are the positives, the things I really liked. First off, Red Hulk. Awesome. That's what the Hulk should be. We really haven't been able to see a potential of the Hulk maybe since Age of Ultron. I think 2008, The Incredible Hulk really got it down pat of what the Hulk should be and could be, and it sort of just fizzled from there. For what reason? That's a conversation for another day. But Thaddeus Ross becoming Red Hulk, absolutely ripping through DC, the cherry blossoms, the Washington Monument, leaving nothing but pure unadulterated destruction in his wake. That's the Hulk. The fight scene with the Hulk was awesome. It was sort of like a cat and mouse between the Hulk and Captain America, because Sam Wilson knows he can't go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. Sam Wilson knows he can't go blow for blow with the Hulk. So he has to use his intelligence, his wits, his speed, his technology, everything that the Hulk doesn't have when in his monstrous form. In the same sense, the aerial combat looked incredible and was super exciting. That whole third act scene where Sam and Falcon are flying around Celestial Island, taking out the fighter jets in a dogfight, absolute cinema. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, technically, I did see this movie 1.5 times, because the first time I went to go see it, the movie theater had a fire alarm and claimed that there was nothing they could do in terms of restarting the movie from where we left off, leading me to go see it again later that night at a different theater. So, thanks, Showcase Cinemas. Overall, though, I think Captain America Brave New World is a pretty hopeful start for the year. A year where Marvel is claiming to have 3 absolute superpower films. And it leads to some pretty exciting possibilities in the future with Sam Wilson's Captain America leading the new team of the Avengers. I'm cautiously optimistic about this year of Marvel movies, but if Captain America 4 is anything to go off of, then that tells me that Marvel has a pretty solid foundation going forward, at least for the next 2 movies. I just hope that going forward, Marvel takes a page out of Brave New World's book and realizes that they don't have to go super cosmic or super large to make a nice story. What you need is intelligently written characters with strong stories, something that you really get in this movie. Here's hoping that Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts go the same direction.